The LCS is back, which means I'm back. The whole point of this one is here to kind of do a little bit of a week-by-week type of thing, but I'm trying to keep it as middle of the road as I possibly can, as objective as I can. The lock-in tournament, the first that it's ever been done, what a way to bring it back. I mean, to go from last fall into this, a huge turnaround as far as rosters and players and coaching, and explicitly starting with the fact of retirement. The old guard, if you will, of the premier players. Everybody knows Double F Bjergsen, pretty much 1-2, gone, out the door. I mean, your most experienced players now are Wild Turtle, Aframu, Pobelter, Impact, and Jensen. And Jensen is about as close to you as you can get to that superstar status still inside of the league. Tons of new names and faces, plus OCE being absorbed into North America without taking up any import slots is a huge change here. Even more so, I love the idea of opening up the LCS with this lock-in tournament because there is no meaning, per se, to this event, really. These teams now have this sort of preseason where they can just do whatever they want. They can test the limits, they can experiment around items and builds, and I think you really can't have anything like that without a preseason where you get that liberty to do so. This is, some would say, the best the LCS has looked off the gate from like top to bottom. Granted, it's like an 80. I'm gonna include 80% to that threshold. The best the LCS has looked because Immortals team wasn't there, and CLG, yeah, for the most part, the LCS looked really solid out of the gate. I mean, you looked at EG, who started phenomenally, 3-0, and just all of a sudden taking the league by storm, and I thought, is this going to be the year that EG does so well? I mean, Impact is one of those senior players in the LCS. Is this the year that they actually do this? They beat Cloud9 to open everything up. They went 3-1 overall before dropping in a very one-sided best-of-3 to Team Liquid, and Team Liquid obviously set the bar now as we progress into the spring split. Granted, they've only gotten better with the addition of Santorin. They played without him for a couple games. As soon as he's in the lineup, Liquid looks so much better. Fari looks phenomenal. He's brand new, and he looked so good, like the best top laner in the LCS caliber. The most impressive newcomer into the LCS. So understandably so, Team Liquid looks so good over EG, and then to go on to win over Cloud9. Cloud9, they're trying to reverse sweep strategy. Still works for the most part. Outside of that last best of 5 against Team Liquid in the finals, the addition of Perks is huge for them, and I think that it's only going to get better as the season progresses. Cloud9, I think, was the team that was limit testing the most. I think they were the ones that took the liberty of this tournament that really didn't mean anything, and they said, okay, we have some time to experiment, to play around. I mean, they played like the most games out of any other team. So that's a plus there, and plus Sven's good. I mean, he got 2 pentakills. Sven is still really good. Best fasting Senna player, and you can't give Olaf to Blabber. He's the best Olaf player in the world. All quotes from Doublelift. So obviously this team's doing something right. And then 100 Thieves, who also face off against C9. Their transition from Golden Guardians to 100 Thieves plus Someday, it looks really good for them, and it bodes well for them because they already have the experience playing together. They already know their playing styles, etc. The problem with that is this really all they're going to be able to bring to the table? But regardless, they still looked really good. FBI still looks phenomenal in the bot lane. Demonte, it's always Tanner time. Coming out of the lock-in, I'm not too surprised at all by those top 4 teams. EG looked really good and then just plummeted. So, not really sure what's going on there, but going into the spring split, definitely going to have to keep an eye on those 4 teams. And I love what they're doing here, and I look forward to the continuation of preseason tournaments like this to break the league in. Now that we have the lock-in out of the way and spring split starting tomorrow, let's take a look into where the pecking order really lies. Of course, with Team Liquid winning the lock-in tournament, having most of their roster still around, and with Santorin coming in to kind of secure that objective control from the jungle, obviously they're going to come in at the number 1 slot. The question mark of it is just how much better can they get from where they finished off both from last year and this lock-in tournament, because sure, they've kind of set the bar as to where expectations should be. How much higher can they go? How much more can they improve? Can they hold on to the number 1 slot? Number 2 is Cloud9, because they looked so good during the tournament. Granted, Perks come out with the swing and a miss in game number 1. Thought he wasn't going to die. Ended up, well, not a great KDA, but from there, Perks' gameplay got significantly better, and I think they have a lot of improvement, especially playing around the top side of the map. Fudge wasn't put on ideal champions. They were limit testing. I mean, they sent Graves top once, I think. They had Fudge on Lulu a couple of times. Fudge's Aurelia looked really good in the first game in that last best of 5. The second time around, he was just too far behind for Cloud9 to really do anything about. So there is room for improvement for Cloud9, and the more they play together, I think the better they get, which might be the concern for Team Liquid. Third place, we're going to give it to 100 Thieves because they are the closest that will match up against the top 2. I think that they look good because new Golden Guardians, they still look solid, and they've all played together. The concerning point of this is the plateau, because they all play together. Is this as good as it's going to get, or does the addition of Someday make it even better, or are we just going to see an actual Golden Guardians 2.0? Fourth place, I think, is going to be the first man out of the top 3, and I think Evil Geniuses falls into that slot because they started so strong. They beat Cloud9, and then after that, they just really were on the decline of that roller coaster. And sure, they looked decent enough. They looked like they had some promise, but I still think that they have ground to make up before they breach into that top 3. Fifth place, I'm going to give to TSM because they look like a consistently middle-of-the-pack team. Still early for Bjergsen. I still think they have a long ways to go. Bjergsen's coaching is going to get better. Lost played Jhin like 80% of his matches, so as soon as you start to get a little bit more variety to play around the bot lane, I think that's going to be better. Huni got caught a couple times in unfavorable circumstances in the top lane where it just couldn't quite survive the jungle gank, and it was kind of a rinse and repeat. We saw like the same gank happen 3 times across two separate games with the Talia wall to block him off. Just clean up the micro, and I think it's going to go better for them. And I think TSM has room for improvement, but I think it might take a little bit longer for them to scale, if you will, into the season. Number 6, I'm going to say FlyQuest because they looked rough without Jose Diodo, and it's not going to put any blame on the jungle role. Even when Jose showed up, I don't even think he was the difference maker. Maybe it was this new honeymoon cupcake phase where Jose was the difference maker and gave them that extra spirit that made them look so good comparatively. But I think there was more play around the actual team in the macro. I do think they are definitively in the middle of the pack, and I think they're going to be scrapping around in the middle for a while. I don't have super high expectations for FlyQuest, but I do think that they are pretty solidly like a 5th, 6th place team. Dignitas is a team that is probably going to rely on faces like Acadian and Aframu and the experience that they have to help them improve, because frankly, their roster, there is no superstar to put on the backpack and carry that team. So either Acadian's going to have to step up and become a person that can carry from the jungle or be that solid player. We all know Aframu's shot calling is pretty much on par with any of the best that we've ever seen and making his presence known around the map. So if they don't get a superstar to step up and really carry this squad, then they're going to have to rely on those roams from either Acadian or Aframu in the setup from that, which I think is a little bit too heavily reliant on something that's not a surefire guarantee. Because if Aframu can't leave lane, then it's just doomed from the start. 8th place I'm going to give to Golden Guardians because they have the most new faces in the league, with Stixxay being the oldest one on the team. He's still really solid as a bot laner, as an ADC, but it's the question of how's the rest of the team going to adapt. Niles and Iconic, who have played together at Maryville, looked phenomenal. The synergy existing from those two carrying over onto this squad, I think bodes very well for them. And I think that it's only going to get better. And I put them at 8th place right now, but I think they have the most room for improvement, and I will be keeping a very close eye on that team. Great that I mentioned earlier, those top 4 teams, TLC 900T, EG, are all teams to watch, but Golden Guardians is definitely one that I think will climb up the ranks as the season progresses because of the new players coming in and the leadership that Stixxay is going to be able to pass on to those. 9th place I got to give to Immortals right now because they haven't had the roster. Like, I haven't seen them play at all, which is I think says a lot more about the 10th place team than it does the 9th place team. We've had 3 of their starters with Keith and Joey in the bot lane. As soon as Raze showed up and then Destiny showing up, I think it was like January 20th that Destiny finally got in. So they have all 5 of their players now. We haven't seen their actual starting 5, so I have to put them at 9th place because I don't know which direction they're going to go. Realistically, they only have up. There's only one more slot below them that they could take. So still have a lot of question marks around that squad. And then 10th place, have to start with CLG. Not happy to say it, because this is where my bias will come in. They just need help, honestly. 7th, 10th, and then 9th. So improvement. They went from 10th to 9th from spring to summer last year. CLG has been just in a spiral for the last couple of years, and there's something that has to happen. Their macro game is just in shambles. They just don't really seem to have an identity. They don't know if they want to play around objectives, play around a lane, play around anything. Fingers crossed, Brox is the answer for it, if and when he shows up. For now, with Griffin and Wiggly starting, granted, the last time CLG was in that 2nd, 3rd place slot, Griffin was their starting jungler, and with him coming back, maybe he's going to bring some expertise to it to kind of help out here, especially with a huge turnover on the esports staff. I mean, new coaching, new esports management, there's a lot that is flipped from last summer, last fall into this spring for CLG. So the only direction they could possibly go is up. But it's a long road up as they sit in 10th place. I'm going to try to post these regularly. I do have a lot of stat sheets. I'll be keeping track of what all these teams are doing, what the players are doing individually, and I'm pretty confident that this is going to be a decent idea going into the spring split. So make sure to stay tuned. I'll be doing the weekly kind of recaps, and then I'll be doing the power rankings as it progresses through the next 6 weeks of the LCS. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you would like to see more of this content. I'm going to be posting a decent amount of this. I'm trying to up my content game here in 2021. So shout out to you. All of my socials, everything is going to be down below in the description. And how do you do outros? I don't know. Thanks for watching.